What is up to my beautiful ladies, my handsome homies? How are you guys doing today? I am feeling great and I cannot wait for today's episode. We're going to be talking about Act 2 of The Hero's Journey. If you have not seen the very first act on The Hero's Journey, I will link it up in the blah 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 right around here, and it'll also be in the description below. Alright, so before we get started, we're going to do just a quick exercise, and that is to get us in the mood for Act 2. There's so much negativity around, like, oh, it's the muddy middle, oh, I have to trudge through this, oh, this is terrible. But that's not how you need to think of it. As a writer, you need to think of it in a totally different light. And that's what this quick exercise is going to be doing. I want you to think about your favorite movie. One of my childhood favorites was Indiana Jones. So just to kind of talk you through this exercise, what was your favorite thing about the movie? In Indiana Jones, I wouldn't say my favorite thing about Indiana Jones was in the beginning when he was like this professor that didn't do anything. And honestly, I don't know many people that would be like, yo, I feel ya, that's my favorite part, if that was your favorite part, right? It's the middle part of it. It's the action. It's where he's like adventuring and he's got all of these trials and he's got to overcome them, or he fails them but it still works out in some weird way, right? That is the awesome part. Like, if you think about when he actually gets the Ark, or when he actually gets the Holy Grail, like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's what he's been trying to get, but even that isn't my favorite part. It's just totally this amazing adventure right in the middle, right? And I'm sure if you think about what your favorite parts of your favorite movies or your favorite books are, it's that middle part. So quit looking at it as this like horrible thing you have to trudge through, and think about it as the most exciting thing that you get to offer your reader. Now that I'm off my soapbox, let's get started. The very first thing is going to be the belly of the whale. Now, if you check out this video right here, it's also in the description below, I talk about how to transition from Act 1 to Act 2 in a very strong way. And this includes this belly of the whale concept in it. But just to make sure I stay true to this video, this is what the belly of the whale is. Okay, so this is the scene or multiple scenes after the decision to leave this ordinary world. There's usually a portal or a passage, a new way of thinking, a new way of acting, something very, very obviously different. And in front of these are going to be like some kind of like portal guardians. Now, what this like portal guardian, what their intention actually is like, how much does this character want it? This character said, I'm changing. Are they really gonna change? Let's see. So boom, the challenge happens. It's right in the beginning of Act 2, and it's like going to push your character deeper into this new world. They're going to overcome this like guardian of the portal, or the guardian of the gate, or the cool kids at school that might not initially be accepting of this new awesome hair color change and clothing change, whatever the case may be. There's something physically there where the hero has to push past it and actually go deeper into this Act 2 world. Now, with this being said, this does not have to be a literal belly of the well. And I know you might eye roll me and be like, what? Well, Mr. Lucas himself, if you remember, Han and Leia like go into the caves and they're like trying to get some little R&R time because they've had one bad day, and all of a sudden they are in the belly of the giant like alien space slug thing. So yeah, just remember when we talk about the belly of the whale, it does not actually have to be the belly of the whale. So the next part is the road of trials, guys. This is your bread and butter. This is what your character is going to be doing that is so exciting to your readers. So this is exactly the same as like the fun and games in the Save the Cat beads that we talked about. This is going to be the why people are reading your book. So the thing is you have your character from the ordinary world with obvious flaws, and they need to like become this character for that super duper epic ending, even if you don't know what that epic ending is yet, right? So you have to have something that tests your hero changes your hero and makes your hero grow, so they have this person and they can bridge over to this person that they need to be. Usually this happens in threes. So I will personally probably have 3 chapters dedicated to this specific plot point, but there's going to be so much more than just one trial. So I want my hero to be tested. I want the readers to be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I want a lot of failures. I want a lot of wins. I want it to go both ways. And I feel like I can't just do that in one set of 3, right? All right, so the next one, meeting with the goddess. Let's talk about this a little bit. I'm not going to dig into this, and hey, if this is something you are super interested in, leave a comment below and be like, man, I would totally love to know the philosophy behind the hero with 1,000 faces. And so to kind of explain it further is the way the hero with 1,000 faces connects to our everyday human life is this normal path that we take as human beings, and it is taken out of like our minds and it's put into like very real physical tangible things. So if we have a challenge within our minds, what the hero with 1,000 stories, what all of these amazing myths do is it's like they bring out that moment in our mind that we as human beings go through, and they make it into a monster that a hero has to physically defeat. And it's incredibly interesting to see all of the ways it's done, but I feel like it's only really interesting to me. I don't think many people care about it, to be fair, to be honest. If you do, prove me wrong, tell me something below, and I'll get into it. I love philosophy. Like, you'll be like, why did I ask her to do this? Anyway, so when we're talking about the meeting with the goddess, this is where it kind of gets weird to me. There's a meeting with the goddess, and then later on we'll be talking about the father, and what it relates to is a child being born. So when a child is born, they have their mother who is very protective of that child. Then later on we're going to get into a father part where it's like the first person into this baby's life that ruins this connection between mother and child is the father. And it just goes really deep into it. So when I talk about meeting with the goddess, it's very much a motherly figure that is there to help protect and nurture, maybe give something to your character. A lot of times I've seen it done as like an oracle. I personally love that. I don't know why, but I absolutely adore every oracle, no matter how predictable it is in a book. But the point of it is this like nurturing, wonderful, motherly presence that is going to help your hero with an item, a piece of advice, a piece of knowledge, something that is going to help with the final battle, per se, against the bad guy. I think my favorite example of this is in The Matrix, when Neo meets the actual Oracle, and the Oracle says that either you or Morpheus is going to have to die, right? And I just think, I don't know, I love the feel of the Oracle, like she's very non-Oracle-ish, but totally an Oracle at the same time. I love the dilemma that it poses, and it is a crucial piece of commentary that she uses to really help Neo in the end. All right, so now we are talking about temptress or temptations. This is what is going to be trying to like lure your hero away from their main goal. Anything that is like feeding into your character's like lustier side, or anything that is feeding into flaws that may make the character wander off. So one of my favorite examples of this actually wasn't with the hero character. If you remember in 300, the Spartan movie, there was a hunchback that had really crucial information, and he goes to Xerxes, and he ends up in this like amazing brothel with tons of belly dancers. They have drinks, they have money, they have everything that he apparently has not been afforded before. And it really brings him over to like the bad side. And so that was just one more thing to encourage him to stray away from the Spartan society and actually team up with Xerxes, the bad guy, right? And so always think about things that could really truly be tempting for your character. And if the bad guys offer it, awesome. If someone, not even a bad guy, offers it, Awesome. Whatever it is, it needs to be temptations to take them away from their original path. The next one is going to be the atonement with the Father. Whew. I've seen so many examples of this, and for some reason, when I actually read the Hero with 1,000 Faces book from Joseph Campbell that created this hero's journey, this is where I get stuck the most. And maybe it's just because I have an amazing relationship with my dad. I don't know. But this one is atonement with the Father. And so kind of going back to that psychology part of it, you have the mother that is nurturing and wonderful. And then the first person to like maybe take you off your mom's teat is your father. And because of that, you are angry with your father and you need to atone with your father. I won't say hard, but personally for my character, that's a little hard. I would imagine for characters like Harry Potter, that's a little hard, but it doesn't always have to be your biological father. One of my favorite examples of this is Jon Snow. And in this particular part, right, Jon Snow meets Mance Rayder in the very beginning. And Mance is very different than this villainized version of what Jon Snow thinks he is. And Mance pretty much tells Jon, like, what, you planned to end this war by coming in here and killing a man that just offered you peace? Something like that. I should have written it down. And Jon really has to atone with that. You know, he's thinking like, I mean, yeah, that was my plan, but you have a good point. Is that really what I should be doing? And now that I think of it, something else that's a good example of the temptress like straying someone away is Ygritte, right? So Jon's a virgin and Ygritte is tempting him all the time. And eventually when he gets to the camp, like his mind of wildlings are wrong really starts to change. And so she's tempting him away from that original path. And in a way, it kind of goes against the norm of this temptation helped guide him to his like true purpose in a way, because he becomes such an influential person in the wildling life. But I'm going to cut over to my computer and I'm going to read something a little more detailed than what I gave you, and it's a Navajo story. Alright, so this next part is the atonement with the Father example, so excuse me as I read this. I just don't want to get it wrong because, like I said, out of all of them, this is the one that just is really lost to me. It just doesn't speak to me. So if you know what, if you have a really firm, great understanding of this, put it in the comments below. So this is a story of the twin warriors of the Navajo. Often it is a protective, nurturing mother goddess figure who shields the hero from the wrath of the father and provides them with the charms or amulets they need to face their father. We can see this theme if we return to the Navajo myth of the Spider Woman and the twin warriors of the Navajo. Recall that these two young men set out to seek their father, the sun. The supernatural Spider Woman gives them the amulets and charms that she promises will subdue their enemies' anger. In their journey, the twins survive encounters with crushing rocks and boiling sands until they reach the House of the Sun. They use the Spider Woman's spell to get past the fearsome dogs, serpent winds, and lightning that guards the entrance. When the sun emerges, he seizes the twins and hurls them at spikes at the north, south, east, and west corners of his house. But the boys come bouncing right back, thanks to the Spider Woman's protection. Then he shuts them up in an overheated sweat lodge, but still the twins survive with the help from the winds. As his last test, the sun forces the twins to smoke a pipe, but a caterpillar gives them something to put in their mouths to block the smoke, enabling the brothers to pass the pipe back and forth harmlessly. At last the sun relents and admits that, indeed, he is their father. The twin heroes have won his confidence and respect. So what I feel like the purpose of this really is either one of two things. The first is to actually confront your father and either gain his respect or realize that he is the evil villain that you originally imagined and that he's a lost cause. You know, how many times can you really do, Luke, I am your father? But for me personally, I'm plotting, and this is just the one thing that I can't figure it out well enough to fit it into my story. And so I'm super struggling. I'm probably going to end up doing a mindstorming session on it just because I'm struggling way more than I originally thought I would be. Okay, so before we get into this point, let's talk about where we are in relation to Save the Cat. So we just had the midpoint with the atonement of the father. That should be your midpoint. Next is going to be your like all is lost section, and then you're going to have that dark night of the soul. So those parts should be before this part. So this next part is pretty much the rebirth. Your character is down in the dumps, they are thinking about how to change, and then all of a sudden something happens to make them say, hey, I still have hope. I can do this. And they are metaphorically rebirthed into the person, that person. Remember, we started Act 2 with this person over here that needed to change. And then we went through all the trials and all the craziness. We met the goddess, we atoned with the father, and now we're over here. Now the person comes out, they are rebirthed into what is going to be your Act 3 character, this bigger, better character. And I don't know if you've ever heard of my buddy. You know, he's not a very well-known wizard, but he goes by the name of like Gandalf. And originally he was Gandalf the Grey, and then he turned into Gandalf the White, yo. Know him? Know what I'm talking about? This is the rebirth, and it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, we are at the last one. We have made it. And this one is the easiest one to explain because it's probably the one thing that you can think of an example of anything, right? So you can think of any movie and have an example. You can think of any novel and you have your example. So this very last one is the ultimate boon. This is what the character has set out to achieve. They finally do it. The ring is destroyed in Lord of the Rings. The Death Star is destroyed. Dorothy kills the Wicked Witch. And Indiana Jones gets the Ark or the Holy Grail. This is the ultimate thing that your character has set out to do, and guess what? They achieve it. All right, everyone, that is it for today. So if you liked this, make sure you give me a big old thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like so, hit me up in the comments below. Let me know where you are in your writing. And I am so happy to be here. I am so happy to be going through this journey with you. So if you want to see more videos with my personal tips, my personal techniques on how to improve your storytelling, check out my channel at Zoe Marley. Bye!